meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is now called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeholder Cooper. Here. Freeholder Graham. Here. Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder McCarter.
Here.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Siebel. Here. So,
Everybody,
President Gill, absent.
everybody please stand for the salute of the flag. And I want to ask Freeholder Graham to lead us in the salute. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have here before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. This evening, I have the honor to chair this meeting in the absence of President Gill. And I think this is most appropriate since I am the District 2 freeholder, which includes the great township of Irvington. I am the vice president to this board. Tonight we have mixed emotions. As we convene our meeting, we know in the last year, Irvington has suffered a significant loss in leadership. First with the loss of longtime resident, former council member, and our board member, Freeholder Levy Jones. Then in March, the loss of council member Sandra Jones. And the recent untimely passing of council member David Lyons. So on behalf of the entire board, we offer the Township of Irvington our sincere, heartfelt condolences. Mayor Voss, we know that Irvington is resilient and strong, and because of these fine leaders and the leadership on the municipal level, you will continue to thrive. Please know that we are here for you. At this point, I will turn the meeting over to Freeholder at Large, Romaine Graham, who is a longtime resident of Irvington, to speak to the memory of Councilman Lyons, offer greetings, and to introduce any Irvington elected officials who are here with us tonight, and also invite them to make whatever remarks they'd like to. Freeholder Graham.
Thank you, Vice President Richardson. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Irvington Township for opening up their doors to allow us this evening to have our freeholder meeting. I'd just like to say that President David Lyons was a good friend of mine, and he will definitely be missed. And tonight we have with us our wonderful mayor of the township. We have Councilwoman at Large, Dr. October Hudley, Councilwoman of the South Ward, Jamila Beasley, Councilwoman at Large, Renee C. Burgess, and Councilman from the West Ward, Vern Cox. At this time, I'd like to call Mayor Voss up.
Good evening, board. Hope everybody can hear me. Good evening, board. Welcome everyone to the Township of Irvington, to the freeholders, county administrator, and everyone assembled here. We welcome you to our township. We appreciate all the support that we've been getting from all the freeholders, which I know personally have been in support for Irvington for many years, and all the support for all the great improvements that the county has sponsored with the support of all the great freeholders. So we don't want to hold up the meeting. We know there's a lot of work to get done. So I just want to welcome you to the Township of Irvington on behalf of my council colleagues who are also present. Thank you. God bless.
Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Mr. President, there are one. The conference board meeting, July 10th, 2019.
Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Hearing none. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the transcript?
Motion.
Motion made by Freeholder Cooper, second by Freeholder Graham. Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson. Absent Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent, so moved.
Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Mr. Vice President, there are none.
We're gonna move to the public comment section. Okay, let's move to the public comment section. Tonight, meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. So if there is any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, whether or not it's on the agenda, please come to the microphone and state your name, affiliation for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak, governed by a clock somewhere over here.
Good evening. Mama Meow, the advocate for Cat Lady of New Jersey. I just would like to say there is good news, and Irvingtonians should know in Irvington we are with the Freeholder Cooper, who is the head leader of our committee, is considering to have our cats trapped, returned, neutered, and managed. I'd like everybody to give her a big clap of applause because she was a bold person to go there, also the committee members. I am very pleased it's slowly coming through, but we know that at least you care and you're trying to make positive changes. And I appreciate that, and so do the Irvingtonians, because there's a lot of cats out there in East Orange and Newark and everywhere in New Jersey suffering and dying. So again, thank you again for your support. I was going to sing, "What's New, Pussycat?" Whoa, whoa! And I know we know what the movie is, that Essex County is putting them first, and I truly appreciate every one of you, and so do the cats. They think you're the top meow. Meow, meow. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Linda Natoli, and I'm from Irvington, and I'm here to speak up. I'm here to speak up for the community cats. I made this little sign. It's trap, neuter, vaccinate, return, and manage. The N is circled because management is the most important part. There needs to be a structure in place to support the cats, the feeders, and oversight for the entire program. We need to get statistics to see if it's successful, and the towns, cities, counties, and state need to be held accountable. We should not fall, it should not fall on individual citizens or struggling nonprofits to bear the burden. Part of the management program would include community education. If people put their cats outdoors to catch mice, the cats must be neutered or they become a burden on the community. If an individual chooses not to neuter their cat, then keep the cat indoors. Adults need to be educated, and there can also be humane education in the schools. Without community education, the whole TNVRN program would be undercut. No matter how many cats we trapped, people would be putting out new cats that are not neutered. A male cat can have unlimited offspring, and a female cat can have 2 litters of kittens in a season, and each of those kittens will be fertile within a year. Many people in Essex County are feeding cats, but they are deeply concerned and are bearing all the expenses themselves, even though many are on fixed incomes and struggling economically. They know very well if they call animal control, these beautiful creatures will be killed for no reason. I hope a position can be created so someone can coordinate and manage the cat program. Let's make Essex County a template for all the other counties in New Jersey. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate that your support. I hope you consider some of these suggestions. This is a problem that can be solved with good management, and by solving the cat problem, you also solve the rodent problem. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Richard Insero, and I'm a member of the South Mountain Conservancy Board of Trustees, and I'm here to address Resolution 5 on the agenda. The South Mountain Conservancy fully supports the 2020 Deer Management Program for the South Mountain and Hilltop reservations. This is planned for 6 afternoons in each reservation in January through March of 2020. We urge the freeholders to approve the application for the 2020 Deer Management Permit to be issued by the NJ Division of Fish and Wildlife. The annual culling is absolutely necessary to enable these important reservations to regenerate and reverse the negative impacts resulting from the excessive population of white-tailed deer. There are no other economically feasible ways to do this. The final report of the 2019 Deer Management Program recommends that a healthy forest has a deer density of no greater than 20 deer per square mile. It further states that in a forest that's damaged by over-browsing deer, as is the case in both of these reservations, the density might need to be reduced to as low as 5 deer per square mile for forest regeneration to succeed. Despite the culling of 101 deer during the 2019 program, the forecast for this upcoming winter indicates the reservations will have deer densities of 38 per mile and 150 per mile. That is in the South Mountain Reservation and in the Hilltop Reservation. These estimates greatly exceed the recommended deer population in a damaged forest that needs to recover. As a keystone species, deer affect all aspects of the ecosystem, including the loss of native plants, beneficial insects, and songbirds. Overbrowsing of deer leads to the proliferation of invasive plants and other species. The Deer Management Program will mitigate these negative impacts and, in addition, reduce the number of deer ticks that carry Lyme disease and reduce the risk of deer and vehicle crashes. In closing, I reiterate that we support the 2020 Deer Management Program. This call is crucial to maintaining this jewel within our densely populated suburban landscape. And lastly, if you have not joined us already, we certainly welcome you to join one of the 50 free hikes that the South Mountain Conservancy sponsors.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Good evening, freeholders. Adam Kramer. I am the Republican nominee for freeholder this year at the election. The reason I'm speaking is, first off, there has not been a formal debate for the office of freeholder in almost a decade. And I think that is a mistake. I respectfully ask my worthy opponent and the incumbent, Ronnie Grant, to hold a civil, public, formal debate so that the people of Essex County can see democracy in action and make an informed decision. Meanwhile, whoever wins, loses, or draws, if we do it right, we have an opportunity to be example to the nation in a time when our civil discourse is less than civil and shows that Essex County can rise and have a civil public debate. I really want that to happen. Freeholder Graham, you're the incumbent, more than welcome to choose venue, time, moderator, format, etc. I really hope that happens. The second thing I want to address is also on the subject of civility. I know that passions are really flaring on the issue of the ICE contract, but I hope that the people on both sides can tone the rhetoric down and address this civilly. I certainly agree with some of the people who've spoken and will be speaking tonight on this subject that all people, regardless of their immigration status, have to have their humanity respected. But I also think there is reasonable debate, and it's a reasonable proposition to ask how and if we should be engaged in this contract. And I think both sides have to be respected. I also think if some of the ranting and rhetoric was toned down, it could actually help those who are protesting ICE further the cause in a more productive and better way. Furthermore, I think that you have to avoid calling our correctional officers and our law enforcement officers really bad and demeaning names, and you can't really call our going for our public safety to jail, a concentration camp, because it's certainly not, and that demeans the whole debate. I thank you for hearing me out, and
30
good
seconds.
luck.
Good evening, Freeholders. Whitney Strube, Newark. I'm the co-chair of the North New Jersey Democratic Socialists of America. You may recall about a year ago I came to you having come from a hearing in Hudson County where members of the Queer Detainee Empowerment Project told about being sexually assaulted while in ICE custody in Hudson County. I predicted that that would inevitably come here to Essex County because that is what happens when you collaborate with an American Gestapo that dehumanizes immigrants and leaves them ripe for abuse. And that is, in fact, what happened here in Essex County. We saw a sexual assault case in our own facility, and I'd like to use the time I have to read out loud an article from WNYC this week written by Matt Katz called "ICE Deports Cabby Despite Ongoing Investigation into His Alleged Abuse at Essex Jail." I apologize to the audience, there are graphic descriptions of sexual assault here, but this is important to put into the record. You need to confront what you are enabling. Bronx taxi driver Farouk Karamu was deported to Ghana this week without prior warning, and despite an ongoing criminal investigation into his claim that he was beaten and raped by corrections officers at Newark's Essex County Correctional Facility. His attorneys believe the deportation violated federal law forbidding any alien who is needed in the United States in connection with any investigation from leaving the country. Karamu, 40, was arrested and taken to Essex after a regularly scheduled check-in with Immigration and Customs Enforcement in May. 10 days later, he said he had a dispute with Essex corrections officers that began with a complaint that he didn't have enough time out of his cell to call his family. He was then handcuffed and taken to the segregated housing unit known as solitary confinement. That's when 2 officers allegedly assaulted and raped him. He said that he was also penetrated with an unknown object, possibly a pen. "I was bleeding. It was a lot of blood," he said in a phone interview from Accra, Ghana, where he hasn't lived in 14 years. "I was so sad. I was screaming. Nobody came to help me." 2 days after the incident, Karamu was taken to University Hospital in Newark, where he was examined by doctors and a sexual assault nurse examiner. They reported that he was experiencing pain and had complained of anal bleeding due to the assault. Karamu reported the incident to the Department of Homeland Security's Office of the Inspector General, which earlier this year cited the Essex County Jail for unsafe and unhealthy living conditions for detainees. In late July, Karamu was moved to the Hudson County Jail. He retained attorneys, and on August 5th, they obtained his
30
medical
seconds.
records. But that same day, Karamu was woken up in the middle of the night and taken to Newark Liberty International Airport. He said he was not told where he was going. After brief stays at ICE detention facilities in Louisiana and Texas, he was dropped off in Ghana on Wednesday. I'm going to pass this off to my colleague, Mary Rizzo, but I know there are officials here from ICE and from the jail. Shame on all of you.
My name is Mary Rizzo. I am a resident of Newark, New Jersey, and again, I am here before you to demand that you end the ICE contract. And as my colleague Whit Strube said, I'm going to continue to read into the record this article. They moved me by force, he said, during a call on a borrowed cell phone. He said he has no money and claimed his life is in danger from a criminal element in Ghana. A spokeswoman for the county prosecutor's office confirmed the ongoing criminal investigation into the May 27 incident. The Union for Corrections Officers, PBA Local 382, did not return calls and an email for comment. A spokesman for Essex County, Anthony Puglisi, said the county would cooperate with any investigation regardless of whether the detainee remained in its custody. Quote, "Essex County takes very seriously any allegation of sexual assault in our correctional facility," he said in an email. He said the county follows federal regulations against prison rape to, quote, "ensure proper medical treatment is provided to the victim." Quote, "We do not condone any act of violence or sexual assault and will not hesitate to file criminal charges against those who break the law," he said. At ICE, a spokeswoman said Karamu was deported because of a 2010 federal conviction on drug charges. After leaving the prison in 2016, he was allowed to stay in the U.S. under an order of supervision, pending regular check-ins with ICE. That order was revoked in May, and he was taken into custody. The spokeswoman had no comment on the allegations of abuse. Last week, before his deportation, Karamu's lawyers wrote a letter to ICE arguing that he should not be deported while the investigation was pending. They were then unable to locate him until they learned he was deported to Ghana. Quote, "We got involved and they just literally disappeared him," said Sarah Gilman of Rapid Defense Network, an immigration law firm. Quote, "It's rather curious that he was detained May 17 and for nearly 3 months nothing occurred. And then when we got involved, everything occurred." His attorney said his deportation interferes with the criminal justice system and prevents the alleged abusers from facing potential consequences. Quote, "ICE is not supposed to allow someone to be removed pending investigation like this, but they coincidentally elect which rules and regulations they follow," said attorney Gregory Copeland, Gilman's colleague. If Karamu's account of abuse, which he says left him with psychological trauma, were to lead to criminal convictions, he could be eligible for a special visa for victims of crime. That would allow him to live in the U.S., but Karamu would have to be returned to the country for that to happen. His attorneys are considering their options. Earlier this year, a Jamaican immigrant named Yuri McCoy told WNYC that he was punched by an Essex corrections officer during a strip search following a visitation with his baby son. He was then taken to University Hospital where he was x-rayed to determine if he had contraband in his anus. Medical records show nothing was
30
found.
seconds.
The county's ICE contract is under heightened security from the Department of Homeland Security for poor treatment of detainees, and it is the subject of a political schism in Essex County, where Brendan Hill, president of the All-Democratic County Governing Board, wants to end the contract that the Democratic County Executive, Joe DiVincenzo, insists on maintaining. So I just want to close by saying this is happening under your watch. These crimes, this retaliation by ICE is happening with your permission, complicity, and it is incumbent upon you, in the face of these allegations, to do something about it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Harris. I live in South Orange. I'm co-chair of the Summer Action Voters' Rights Committee. I'm coming to you again to talk and to urge you in your role as to authorize expenditure for money to buy voting machines, to buy the kind of voting machines which are hand-marked paper ballots with optical scanners located at the polling place. Today's paper talks about the Department of Homeland Security in New Jersey warning that this state is one of the most vulnerable to attacks from either Russia or other foreign actors. The reason we are is that, contrary to law that requires a paper record, over 10 years ago, this county purchased machines that do not have a paper trail and therefore cannot be audited as required by law. We have been seeking a meeting with the people in charge of what voting machines to buy since March. We had a meeting with Chris Durkin and his deputy Garnett Hall, but we have been unable to meet with Edna Ball and Linda Von Essen. We have had many communications. Sometimes information was inconsistent, but for some reason, we are unable to get this meeting. The voting machines, the voting registration records, according to the FBI, were penetrated by the Russian actors in all 50 states. We don't know what the Russians have done with those voting registration records. We don't know whether Essex County's voter registration records were victim of this attack. So we would like to know, were the voting registration records of Essex County penetrated by Russian or any other foreign actor? If so, what has been done about it? And when will the decision be made to buy voting machines that cannot be hacked and that are safe, secure, and less expensive? But you know, buying the right voting machines and making sure each vote counts, or not doing it, costs a lot more than money. Don't waste our money
30 seconds.
and protect our votes. We ask this not only for our sake, but on behalf of all the people of New Jersey and your own sake. Because when people vote for you, you don't want somebody else to get the vote. So do it in the name of democracy. Do it because it's right. And get active on this. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Voting Rights Committee. And while we've spoken about some of this before, I think it's really worthwhile bringing it up again. As you know, or should know, because it's in the paper all the time and on TV, New Jersey is one of 5 states that does not have paper ballots, as my colleague said, regardless of the law that was passed well over 10, 12 years ago. But I think it's important to say, people are talking about it, and it's great to say paper ballots, but not all paper ballots are alike. There are 2 basic kinds, at the risk of oversimplifying paper ballots. There's one kind of paper ballot where you go into a little place like you do today, and you go in and you punch a button, and the vote is cast on a piece of paper, and you can look at it on the machine or sometimes out of the machine, and then you put it back into that machine, and just like you go when you go to the ATM and deposit a check or anything, that machine sucks up the paper ballot and counts it. We hope that they count it right. We also hope that the voter pushes the right place, etc. There's another kind of paper ballot, the one that we are recommending, and frankly that all the experts recommend. That's hand-marked paper ballot. It has a number of advantages, and let's talk about the differences between them. Which ballot is more likely to show true voter intent? The one where you go into the little box and you push a button, or the one where the voter actually crosses fills out the bubble on the thing? Which one is less likely to be manipulated in the counting process? Yes, you take the paper ballot, the hand-marked one, and you put it into an optical scanner, but guess what? That paper ballot is still available to be counted in case, like you did in Queens recently, you have to do it by hand-mark, you have to do a recount. Third, which one of those 2 systems, paper ballot systems, is less expensive? Hands down, the hand-marked paper ballot. There are 3, sometimes people say 4, major voting machine manufacturers, or at least that sell in the country. Guess which ones they would like to have? Anything that costs more money. Those are ballot marking devices, the ones that we said first. I urge you to, and I have some questions too if I have time, I urge you to make sure that you buy the cost-effective and the most secure paper ballot machines possible. I also understand that the Essex County has received money from the state to do a test pilot on voting machines. My question includes, what test machines were chosen? What were the results of those tests? And that was good. I have something else, but that will do it for now. Thank you.
Excuse me, as is customary by this board, you will receive an answer in writing.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Heather Craven. I live in Maplewood. And I'd like to say a word about the ICE contract. I urge you to do everything you can to shut it down. You've heard from people who can speak more eloquently than I can about the abuses, about the issues of humanity and morality, and the impact on the people held there and on our immigrant communities. I'd like to say a word about what the for-profit detention system and the anti-immigrant sentiment behind it, what that does to all of us as residents of Essex County. The more we defend and justify what we're doing there, the more it affects our judgment, the more we start to act as if people who have an expired visa or who came here as children, as if somehow they're on a par with thieves and murderers and terrible criminals. We start to act as if people who have broken no laws, who are here seeking asylum, and who want nothing except to become Americans, we start putting them in that pot with the people who are dangerous and the murderers, the thieves, the truly criminal, dangerous people. And the more we do that, the more we become afraid. We start to fear our neighbors. We start to fear refugees. We start to fear families. We start to fear children. It turns us into cowards. So I'd really like to urge you, let's take back our good judgment. Let's take back our courage. Let's take back our humanity. And please do what you can to shut it down. Thank you.
is Paulette Robinson. I'm a member of the Good Neighbor.
You can pull a mic up.
Okay. I'm a member of the Good Neighbor Baptist Church. I also sing in the choir. And I'm an ordinary constituent of the North City Committee. On August 7th, approximately 10:15 to 10:30 in the morning, I was on my way to my Senior Citizens Club meeting when I was mugged, I was robbed of my pocketbook, assaulted, teeth knocked out my mouth, I had stitches, I was swollen, I was hurt severely. I was taken to the hospital, to the emergency. There was no police report made when someone is mugged, robbed, or whatever in the emergency. It did not happen. Afterwards, I did get a police report because I myself went to the police station. They wrote up the report that I lost my pocketbook. Now, I have all the teeth knocked out on the right side of my mouth. I've received stitches here. My face was swollen, and it just does not coincide by someone leaving their purse, pocketbook in a restaurant, store, or wherever they lost it to be injured to the severe point that I was. And not only did that happen, but the police, they wrote a false report saying that I lost my pocketbook. Now, I went back to a place called, hold on 1 second, and go down for you. Quickly. All right, I'll do that in a second. It's the Women's Resource Center. They did give me some help there. There was a young officer that came out. I have his name, and I have his police badge number, that he did another interview as to what happened. He took it exactly as I told him that it was, and he said he would write down the truth, that I was robbed and I was assaulted. So I'm here this evening because I am afraid. I don't know what's going to happen because, well, your police department
30 seconds.
Okay, your police department wrote a false report. Now, I'm telling the truth. Is my life in danger? Like, what's going to happen? I'm just here to allow others to know what happened. So if Paulette Robinson wind up in the river or something happens to me, I'll let it be known to the public. Thank you.
It's a terrible story. My name is Ellen Witt, and I live in Highland Park in central Jersey. I want to urge you tonight to immediately end the Essex County jail bed contract. Because I live in central New Jersey, I've not been able to attend these meetings on a regular basis, and I'm sure probably you all feel like that's none of my business what Essex County decides on these matters. But I am a member of active organizer for DIRE, the Deportation and Immigration Response Equipo, which supports and provides services to immigrants who are detained by ICE and their families from our area and from around the state. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that what you do here is affecting people all over New Jersey. For example, recently, we have seen ICE randomly stop a taxi cab in New Brunswick, open the door, the car door, and arrest 6 men who were in the cab on their way to work. Some of them were taken to Essex County Jail. Some were deported or still await possible deportation right now. Now, these folks were not targeted by ICE, but now 6 families are suffering. Without beds available in your jail, it's very possible that ICE would not have bothered to even arrest these men, much less detain them. They were never looking for them. They had no record or anything of that sort. The conditions in Essex County Jail, including the latest case of an apparent sexual assault of an ICE detainee by Essex County Jail staff, and his subsequent deportation before the investigation was even completed is just one in a long line of complaints going back years. You can't possibly continue to rationalize your ICE contract given the history of your operation here and the current assault on immigrant communities throughout the state. In July, 23 towns across the state had held vigils to call for ending the ICE detention camps. I was part of organizing the one held in New Brunswick, which was attended by hundreds of people on a Friday night. Our march specifically demanded the immediate closing of the Essex County ICE facility
30 seconds.
Along with Hudson, Bergen County, and the Elizabeth Detention Center as well. People around the state are slowly learning that Essex County is one of the major ICE camps run by local government in the country. It is unconscionable and an embarrassment to your county. It's time for you, the Essex County freeholders, to take action to end your participation in this nightmare. What are you going to do about the ICE contract?
We're waiting. Yeah, your answer will be in writing. That's the customary of the board. That's what we do. Answer, responses are written. So you'll get a written response.
Who can I give that to as to who they can write to?
But there'll be someone to help you.
Yeah, you put your name on the young man.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cameron McGovern with the Non-People Art Association, advocating for Belleville Park. I do appreciate this being done now with the fence, but it's also has to be vandalized.
Please speak into the mic.
I do appreciate everything that's being done, but I also have some other issues because as I missed the July the 10th meeting, and I see other things is being done, and I read the open report for Bellsburg Park. The facelift and so was supposed to be close to $3 million, but if you guys go by, and I'm quite sure you do the numbers, they just don't add up to that. The water fountain that's there in the park needs to be shut off, because we know the water is not, even with filter, whatever, that should be turned off. Then I was seeing that almost $4 million is going towards Weedway Park. Okay, even though I come here constantly and I'm asking, and I'm not putting pressure or, threatening or anything, but there's a lot, we just getting spanked, Bellsburg Park. Like, they play every weekend, in which I'm gonna make another list of my things that I would like for Bellsburg Park to have. Baseball, the baseball field. That building in the park, I keep told that it's historical, they can't touch it, but now that they're doing a lot with the park, you have a lot of stragglers that hide behind that building. They can open it up, just open it up. I was told that they can fix the inside, open it up and make it as a gaming room or whatever, fine, do that. The trees and the design of that park is, you have to come, you all need to come to Belleville Park and actually walk in the play area and see for yourself. The so-called, I guess the turf, I don't know if it was one big sheet and they just staple it down or whatever way, it actually folds, it's coming up. So, all I'm asking just to give Belleville Park just a little bit more respect. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. But that water definitely needs to be turned on in the park. And I see, I don't know if you received it or not. I did
30
see
seconds.
all invitation to an invite to one of my community events that I'm having held this Saturday. You all are invited, to come. And that's it. That's all I have to say, but please just take into consideration, like I said, I read the open report.
Time's up.
is customary, you will get an answer in writing.
Good evening. My name is Jay Marina with the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign. I want to reiterate the demand made here in this building and the growing movement to demand the immediate end of this blood money ICE contract. It's time to end it now. I would also like to reiterate the demand of the first speaker, the Republican candidate. I'm not with the Republicans and Democrats parties of the rich, but I do endorse his call that there be a debate, that these freeholders quit hiding behind closed doors and come out and debate the burning issues of the day, of which the concentration camp that you run for I get Trump and Joe D mixed up, that you run for Trump is the burning issue of our day, and it needs to be put on the agenda. When I ran against Deportation Joe last year, we challenged him and his Republican opponent to a debate, and they both refused to debate. They're in collusion. They're worried about Russian collusion. There's the real collusion, the Republicans and Democrats, to bury this issue. You need to come out and defend it. If you're going to defend it, come out and defend the blood money contract. The same to Miss Ileana Pintor-Marine, who is the assistant to the county administrator who administers this blood money contract that's overseen by Mr. Ortiz. You need to also come out. In the assembly, you are head of the budget committee, and you oppose the governor's minimal, well below what our campaign is calling for. You oppose the minimal millionaire's tax. So you have made it clear, Ms. Pintor-Marine, you would rather work with your buddy, Joe D., to generate funds to a blood money contract, but you won't tax the rich. And in fact, you won't even meet with us. I'm a constituent of yours. We have been trying for months, Ms. Marine. Where have you been? When are we going to get a meeting? In addition, we call for a debate with these freeholders and Deportation Joe. Yeah, you're smiling, Ms. Siebel, too. But our candidates, Michelle Velasquez and Yolanda Johnson, challenge you to a debate. Come out. If you're going to defend the blood money contract located right in your neighborhood, right in the immigrant quarter of Newark, come out and defend it. Quit hiding.
30 seconds.
Quit hiding. And we need, the conditions are deteriorating at this concentration camp. We call it a concentration camp because people are being held without criminal charge. But on top of that, we have heard the horrors that are going on that Ortiz oversees. The raping of Farouk Karamoud, the beating of Yuri McCoy. And now we have the poisoning, with the lead poisoning, the water that's going on. This horror has to end now. We call it to end now. And if you're gonna, we also call, this is the burning issue of our day, so we call on all of you. Ms. Siebel, Ms. Cooper, Graham, Richardson, Parlavecchio, got a long history, we know you. Luciano, Mercado, Joe D., formed up in the North.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Along with Ileana, you're
Your
laughing,
your
Ileana. It's
time
not
is up.
laughable what's going on right in your backyard.
Your time is
It's
up.
not funny. Marine. What are you going to come out and defend?
Eloise McDaniel, and I'm right here from Irvington. And I am a president of the Irvington Block Association Coalition, and I've been working in Irvington to try to make things better for years. And I can't get answers at our council meeting, so I thought maybe I could come and present it to the freeholders, and you can help me. And can you let the Essex County Prosecutor's Office know that Irvington Police Department is engaging in political activity? And I have a copy right here that I want to pass out. I don't know how I give it to you, but someone can get it and show you that I am telling the truth. And I don't know if you need some more here. And you look down at the bottom, and you will see it was paid for by Team Irvington Strong, which is a political organization. So we need help. And what I want to know again, are our taxes, county taxes, going to go up? And about the water problem in Irvington. I know we had a problem before, and with what is going on in Newark, I have a flyer here too that I would like for you to look into our water problem, because our officials here haven't said anything to the citizens that I know of about our water problems. And then we have another problem over on Court Street, in which someone will talk about it more. The Environmental Protection Agency have given out a letter here talking about that problem over there with the soil contamination, and we can't get any answers from our town officials, councils. No one give us answers, so we are asking you, can you help us? And when I heard them talking about the voting up here, the last mayoral municipal voting,
30 seconds.
Okay, what happened is it was a disgrace what happened. They didn't allow legal voters, New Jersey, Irvington resident votes to be counted. Quite a few, we went to court and everything, but I think maybe they were all a part of the political machine and they did nothing.
As is customary, you will get answers to your questions in writing. Thank you.
Induna Guara, resident of Irvington. My issue I have is with the 107 bus that goes from South Orange, Ivy Hill to Newark in the mornings. First bus is at 5:15, then you don't get another express bus until 10 to 6. By the time you get in that 5:15 bus, it gets to Irvington Terminal. There's standing seats from the front to the back, every single morning. Riders have complained. New Jersey Transit don't do anything. The buses break down. Buses are tiny, but when you go to Union, they send the big buses over there with the bottom compartments. I think we should be able to get a good bus as with that. And we've been calling New Jersey Transit, complaining, and nothing has been done. I had came to the Freeholders about 10 years ago concerning Irvington Park, having it fixed with some other people here in Irvington, and we got it done. And it was swiftly repaired so the kids can play soccer there and so forth, and other recreational activities. The second thing I want to talk about is coming to a meeting here, last meeting, in July. I was approached by a police officer that asked me what meeting I'm going to. When there's only one meeting that's happening, and when I responded to him that I'm going to a meeting behind the door, he blocked the door, he refused to let me in, which is intimidation, harassment, bullying. That could have turned out into a really bad situation if I had gotten aggressive. That's definitely racial profiling. To ask me what meeting I'm coming to, I've been coming here for the past 18 years, and he made statements that he asked other people. When I came in here, he said he didn't ask. When I brought it up to the council or to the directors meeting, the chief police director didn't give me any answer. When I spoke to the council, one of the councilmen said he was going to write the police director to get an answer. Why is it that I have to be asked what meeting I'm going to when there's one meeting? Sergeants, the director, even the officer said that there was other meetings going on when there's only one meeting that goes on here from 6:30 to 7:30. So I appreciate your swift response and help with my concerns. Thank you.
My name is Kathy O'Leary. I'm with Pax Christi, New Jersey. We are a region of Pax Christi USA, which represents the Catholic Peace with Justice movement in the United States. I come here to reiterate the calls of all of my colleagues here who asked for the ICE contract to be terminated. But I also come here to tell you that the problem with your jail is not simply that you contract with ICE, despite your claims that you are in favor of immigrant rights. The problem with your jail is that you incarcerate people to generate revenue. In 2011, we wrote a report called Essex County Immigration Detention Expansion, an Invitation for Abuse. The title came from a statement by the Catholic Bishops of the South in 2008 called Bulletins for Wall Street, Prison Privatization. It concluded that only when our criminal justice system reflects the love and truth of Jesus Christ will our communities be truly safe and just. We are not providing justice for our residents in Essex County, our residents of New Jersey, and we are not providing safety to them. In 2011, we wrote this report and we cautioned you about the history of immigration detention in New Jersey, that it includes a myriad of cases of abuse, including a number of shocking deaths, a culture of secrecy, and lack of transparency. That has played out over these many years. Before that contract was signed, we met many, many times. We came to these meetings. And after, quote, after months of testimony from advocates, service providers, and community members, Freeholder Caputo, as chair of the Freeholder Board's Penal Committee, announced that Essex County would investigate charges of violations of the New Jersey Administrative Code and other civil and human rights violations. He invited advocates to join this effort to oversee the jail. This board later reneged, as you are doing now. The culture of secrecy and the lack of transparency in immigration detention in New Jersey continue as well in the latest expansion in Essex County. That's how we conclude. This does not bode well for the people who are being held at the behest of ICE and for the remuneration of $108 a day. That was what you were getting back then. We bumped it up since then. Because these individuals are locked up out of the public view, it is easy for mistreatment and abuse
30
to be
seconds.
overlooked or even covered up, and the money provides incentive to do so. Individuals in any prison populations are also more vulnerable because limitations on their freedom make accessing the individuals or the organizations responsible for oversight more difficult. This is the case even more so for individuals in immigration detention who do not have a right to, by law, to legal counsel. The Essex County legislators responsible for the care of the people in their custody under the new ICE contract will be well served to institute a community oversight board to prevent New Jersey's sad and tragic history with immigrants in detention from repeating itself in Essex County. You have failed to do so, as my colleagues told you about a rape in the jail. And there was another rape by Sean Shaw in 2010
that's your time.
in your jail on the criminal justice side. When will you institute a community oversight board with actual teeth?
You have another bite at the apple at the end.
Matt Dragon from West Orange. Thank you to the two freeholders who have engaged me on the topic of civilian oversight of the jail. I hope to still hear from the rest of you. In addition to the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General report findings, there have been serious concerns raised in media reports about the county jail. These include several pending criminal investigations into assault, rape, and death by suicide in both the ICE and county units. In response to the OIG report and these incidents, the county executive wants to institute a civilian task force. But we need serious, comprehensive solutions to ensure the safety of our prisoners. As recommended by the ACLU, we must enact a fully independent civilian oversight committee. So I ask for a formal response to the following questions. Excuse me. Which freeholders have spoken with the county executive on the topic of civilian oversight of the jail? Which freeholders have spoken with the ACLU on the topic of civilian oversight of the jail? And which freeholders are willing to state that they will not support any plan for oversight that does not meet the ACLU's recommendations? As I said last time, these are Joe D's prisoners, your prisoners, our prisoners, my prisoners. We have a moral and ethical obligation to establish effective and empowered civilian oversight to ensure the punitive and rehabilitative portions of our laws are enforced with integrity and humanity. please tell the county executive that you won't enact anything that doesn't implement the ACLU recommendations. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Terry Seuss of 100 Alexander Street in Newark. I'm your neighbor right over here. And tonight I'm here to present a letter. I'm a member of the Essex Ethical Culture Society, and the Social Action Committee has prepared a letter for you, which basically calls for the decriminalization of immigration. And this letter, if I can hand it to somebody to pass around, I'd like you to have it. There should be a copy for each one of you. And also for the county executive. And I may read that later. I just want to make a few comments. That it's very fitting we're meeting here in Irvington tonight, which is a community largely of immigrants who have joined native-born Americans to build a beautiful community. The sad part is many of those immigrants in this community are terrified. They are being scapegoated, and you are letting it happen. And we need more action on your part to make sure that this ICE contract is ended, because it is the militarization of chasing down people. And don't kid yourselves about that. You are all part of that. And in terms of how people are being treated in the jail, you'll all be lucky if you're not subject of individual personal lawsuits. Because this is horrific what's going on there. And it's not one-off, it's a pattern. The other thing that I'm shocked at is where is your communication with our congressional delegation to have a high-profile New Jersey reform of immigration laws? New Jersey should be at the forefront of this. The counties, instead of locking people up, should be at the forefront of this, and we should have a rational path to citizenship for anyone who wants to come here for whatever reason. I want to point out that that Trump's whole approach has been to reduce illegal immigration instead of to have immigration reform. It's a massive failure, it's created a monster, and it's threatening all of us along with all the immigrants. Trump also is single-handedly trying to rip up the right to asylum.
30 seconds.
Do you know how far that goes back? That originated in 511. And it was re-enshrined in 1948 under the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, conventions in 1951, and protocols in 1967. He has no right to attack anything related to asylum. I would refer you to Ali Noorani, who wrote for Fox News. He made the case that America needs immigrants. They're vital to our success and prosperity. Our fertility rate is declining. Our older age is increasing. For the first time in 10 years, we will have more old people than young people. We need these immigrants. They should not be treated like criminals for paper violations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, freeholders. Is this thing on? Oh, good. I can hear myself. Thank you guys for showing up at this. This is our town council for Irvington. I am a resident of Irvington. I've been here for approximately 25 years with my family. Okay. See, my name is Robert Shaw Sr. My home address is 57 Court Street. My telephone number is 973-399-7068. And I am a veteran from way back. The president of the Board of Coalition for Irvington, she spoke up earlier about poison effect that's been happening in Irvington for a while. See, when I went to the first freeholders meeting, Miss Bonnie Watson handled a situation for us concerning, at that time, it was lead poisoning involving Revlon, and also that was, medical facility waste that they were trying to impose in the township. At the time, it was Councilman at-Large Beasley was down there, John Sowell, and the late Councilman David Lyons. It did not fare. The other problem that we had before that was cleanup of lead that was in the air that was getting on our properties. What I have in my hand is an EPA test and results for my property being poisoned. Now, what I understand is, Newark, you have a water problem, okay? It's gonna cost approximately $45 million to clean that up. As I explained to our council members, it was about approximately 2 weeks ago, give me some help to help clean up my property, which I am not responsible for, because the Irvington Smelting Facility, which was located at 673 21st Street, did the damage back then from the 1900s to the 1960s. Now we're gonna suffer it. After I explained myself to the health officer, his name was Helwig, and also the assistant director, last name is White, I said, give me some help. Only help I received was from one council person sending a letter to the health department. This is a health crisis. Oh, and the young lady that has all the cats, send them to my street, because we have rats. Irvington is filled full of rats. Everybody knows that, and they're big, okay? Now the problem that I have, I'm asking you to help me clean up my property and the other homeowners on my street. Somebody please get in contact with me, because right now I'm getting nothing, and I'm at my last ends before selling out and go to another place. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Gwen Franklin, in Rockaway, Berkeley. Before I go into my problem, my issue, I would like to first address that when people come up to this microphone, it's for a short period of time, 3 minutes. And I know we spoke about this before, and it seems like some of the people, brought it to their attention and they pay attention. I mean, people are really hurting, and they're saying what is really hurting other people. I think the least you can do is give your undivided attention and not laugh and be on your cell phone when someone is at this microphone. That's the least you can do. Okay? And as far as the voting machines, I would just like to touch on that. I think we can at least try to get paper ballots, because we already know that the Russians have infiltrated everything, and that's why everyone's being hacked, all the big corporations and so on. Now, going on the hacking system, I said I was hacked, and I was hacked through LabCorp, and I just got something that was hacked also through Capital One with IBW credit card. Now, I just received a letter from the Freeholders, which was telling me that it's the LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics' responsibility to do what they need to do to protect my security, which they gave me 24 months of security. I received a letter from Mr. Robert Jackson in reference to they will not issue me any more manual checks. The last check will be September 28th. Now, all I'm asking for is until I get a hold on this security. I mean, I have Chase, I have, several banks, I won't announce them. But I'm working with them where if a penny is charged from my account, it will come through, because everyone, if you do not know this, you have a blackout period on your cards. And if someone is charging or spending money from your numbers on that blackout period, you are not aware of it, and even if it's $1, it's coming out of your account and you do not know it. Now, Chase was kind enough to eliminate my blackout period, but you have to call the main headquarters office in order for that to happen.
30 seconds.
So I'm in the process of doing that. So, and it's a pain in the butt to do everything with a manual check. It's a pain in the butt to have to search for my manual check on payday day. I think it should be delivered to me. I've been writing, I emailed all the administration, asked, can I get my check delivered by the handler, and nothing has been written back to me in reference to how I am getting my manual check. And I think that's so disrespectful. I know you wouldn't want no one playing with your manual check, when it's payday.
Time's up.
Okay? So thank you, and I hope to hear from someone with a legitimate answer.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Searles. I'm a resident of West Orange. I've never come to, Searles, S-U-R-L-E-S. I've never come to speak before a body of elected representatives before, so I'm really nervous. And I didn't really prepare much in the way of what I wanted to say. I really appreciate that you're here with us doing your job, listening to your citizens' concerns, and it means a lot to me. But I'm here because I really have a problem living in a county where we are benefiting from the money that is coming from an ICE contract, and I'm just pleading with you to please end it, because it's immoral, and I don't want to live somewhere where we're getting money from that. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Stacy Gregg from Rockaway. Can you hear me?
Yes, pull it down.
Can you start the clock over, please? Well, then I'll reclaim my time, 5 seconds. Stacy Gregg, Rockaway. History is not going to look kindly on any of you. It's all recorded. It's all down in the books. Everybody knows who you are, where you're from, and 2 generations from now, people will know your names when they look back through history. You've been asked multiple times. You mock the audience by laughing, by rolling your eyes, sometimes rocking in your chairs, leaving the room during the public session. We're here in Irvington and you're not doing that tonight. But we know who you are, and when it becomes time to do crimes against humanity and they have court cases, you will be called to trial. Because this is never again. I'm a Jew and I'm offended by the person who thinks in the audience that he can tell me what is and isn't never again. I know never again. My whole life I learned never again. This is concentration camps. These are your people. Do you not care about your people? They didn't come in by slave ships. They didn't come in by Ellis Island. They came in, and today I learned that over in Union County, over a year, some of them are lingering there. Horrendous, and you're part of it. And I want to know in my letter, which you've never sent me, ever, to any of my questions, how each and every one of you weigh in. You took this job, they're trying to cultivate you. Joey D's trying to get you under his arms to do as he says, don't pay attention. I've sat here while you voted on things for the prison, for O'Keefe, and none of you read the contract. And I hope the Attorney General does get around, or if he isn't already investigating that. You did not read that contract when you renewed it. You didn't have the proper questions. You cared in the beginning, Mrs. Cooper, and then you didn't care enough to do your homework and read the contract that day. You had to sit up there, you all asked what was in the contract. So I'm a Jew, and I'm going to tell you, this is never again, and it's like the 1930s. And we had a president today who spoke out against Jews, how good Jews shouldn't be Democrats. Well, you're all Democrats. And 2 generations from now, when your relatives look back to see what you did, they're going to see this, and you should be ashamed. When my relatives, when I lost 2 generations back in Austria, I can't even talk right now, in Poland, when they were put to death, they had nothing to them. So we had a relative that sent these books. They were a teacher. They let the teachers live. And they wrote books, history books, in Poland, in Polish. And this letter, which will take me 21 seconds to read. Dear Anita, we have received your letter, and we are very happy. We think often of our family in USA. And we are glad that your mother and her husband recovers one's health. I can only imagine what their health was sick from. It wasn't a year in a detention center or a concentration camp like you're doing now. We will to make you a little pleasure, and we send you the last of our books. Shortly, we all send you a new beautiful dolls for children. Yours truly, Ella and Andropoulos. I apologize for those of you who did not come via Ellis Island and escape persecution. My family did. And you're running a concentration camp. And we heard today all the many countries that people are being persecuted. And if Americans had to take up our arms and go somewhere with nothing to our bodies, and that when we get there, they take, in closing, so you don't have them come after me.
Yeah, really.
In closing, if we had to take up today because our homes were bombed out and we could not return from this building, and then when you got to where you went for this concentration camp, they took everything off of you. That's what you're doing to these people that come to America.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and first reading?
Mr. Vice President, we have none.
Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinance or resolutions listing purposes only?
Mr. Vice President, we have none.
Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinance and resolution on second reading and public hearing tonight?
Mr. Vice President, we have 7. We have ordinance number O-2019-006, ordinance number O-2019-0007, ordinance number O-2019- Read them on it, Mr. Vice President, I'm sorry. Okay.
So we'll start with 00006. I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance 2019-0006 open. If there are any member in the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. All right.
Mr. Vice President, may I read the title into the record?
Please.
Ordinance O-2019-0006, ordinance authorizing the guarantee by the County of Essex, New Jersey, of payment of principal and interest to the capital equipment lease revenue bonds, Series 2019. Essex County Guaranteed Belleville Board of Education, project of the Essex County Improvement Authority in an aggregate principal amount not exceeding $4,730,000.
Okay, there's no one wishing from the public wishing to speak. Mr. McInerney. Question. Mr. Paulovecchio. Mr. Freeholder. Any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion and a second to close public hearing?
So move.
Motion made by Freeholder Mercado and second by Freeholder Graham. Do I have the same mover and second?
Yes.
To approve the ordinance. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Sebald.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson. Absent. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent.
So moved. I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance. Oh, please read the title. For 7.
Yep, I'm going to do that right now, Mr. Vice President. Ordinance number O-2019-0007, ordinance authorizing the guarantee by the County of Essex, New Jersey, payment of principal of interest on the capital equipment lease revenue bond, Series 2019, county guaranteed Cedar Grove Board of Education project of the County, Essex County Improvement Authority in the aggregate principal amount not exceeding $250,000.
I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2019-0007 open. If there are any members of the public who would like to comment or for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Let the record reflect there's no one wishing to speak. Mr. McInerney, any questions or comments? Mr. Paulovecchio, freeholders. All right, I need a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Motion made by Freeholder Luciano, second by Freeholder Cooper. Do Do I have the same mover and second?
Yes.
To approve the ordinance? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson. Absent Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent, so moved.
Madam Clerk, please read the title of the next ordinance.
Mr. Vice President, the next ordinance is O-2019-00008. Ordinance authorizing the guarantee by the County of Essex, New Jersey, of payment of principal and of interest on capital equipment lease revenue bond series 2019 Essex County Guarantee Fairfield project of the Essex County Improvement Authority in an aggregate principal amount not exceeding $850,000.
I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance 2019-00008 open. If there are any members of the public wishing to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation. For the record, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Let the record reflect there's no one here from the public wishing to speak. Mr. McInerney, questions or comments? Mr. Vecchio, freeholders. I need a mover and a second to close public comment. Could I have the same mover and second to approve the ordinance?
Mr. Vice President?
Yes.
I'm confirming that Freeholder Cooper moved and Freeholder Graham seconded.
Correct. To close public and to approve. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent. So moved.
Madam Clerk, read the next ordinance into the record.
Ordinance number O-2019-00009. Ordinance authorizing the guarantee of the County of Essex, New Jersey, of payment of principal and of interest on the capital equipment lease revenue bond, series 2019, Essex County Guaranteed, Irvington project of the Essex County Improvement Authority in an aggregate principal amount not exceeding $4,400,000.
I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2019-00009 open. If there are any members of the public who would like to comment for or against the ordinance, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Let the record reflect there is no one from the public wishing to speak. Mr. McInerney, any questions or comments? Mr. Vecchio, freeholders. I need a mover and a second to close public hearing. Public comments. Can I get the same mover and a second?
Yes.
To approve.
Mr. Vice President, may I confirm that moved by Graham and seconded by Freeholder Ricardo?
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's move on to ordinance 0-2019-00010 and read it into the record at a later time and just read the title.
The ordinance O-2019-00010, ordinance authorizing the guarantee by the County of Essex, New Jersey, of payment of principal and of interest on the capital equipment lease revenue bond, series 2019, Essex County Guaranteed Livingston Board of Education project of Essex County Improvement Authority in an aggregate principal amount not exceeding $2,700,000.
I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance 0-2019-00010 open. If there are any members of the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Let the record reflect there's no one wishing to speak. Mr. McInerney, any questions or comments? Mr. Vecchio, freeholders. So this is the closed public comment. Freeholder Sebo and Freeholder Graham. Do I have the same mover in a second?
Yes.
To approve the order?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent, so moved.
Madam Clerk, read the next ordinance, title into the record.
The ordinance O-2019-00011, ordinance authorizing the guarantee by the County of Essex, New Jersey, payment of principal and interest on the capital equipment lease revenue bond series 2019, Essex County Guaranteed Roseland Project of the Essex County Improvement Authority in aggregate principal amount not exceeding $350,000.
I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance 0-2019-00011 open. If there are any members of the public who would like to comment for or against the ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation, and you will have, for the record, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Let the record reflect there is no one wishing to speak to this ordinance. Mr. McInerney. Mr. Paulovecchio. Freeholders. No questions or comments. Do I have a mover and a second to close public comment? Do I have the same mover
Yes.
and second to approve the ordinance?
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, may I confirm that this ordinance was moved by Sebo and seconded by Freeholder Sebo and seconded by Freeholder Cooper?
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, so moved.
So we read the next ordinance into the record. I mean, the title into the record.
Ordinance number O-2019-00012, ordinance authorizing the guarantee by the County of Essex, New Jersey, of payment of principal and of interest on the capital lease revenue bond series 2019 Essex County Guarantee West Caldwell project of the Essex County Improvement Authority in an aggregate principal amount not exceeding $1,220,000.
I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2019-00012 open. If there is any member of the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Let the record reflect there is no one from the audience wishing to speak. Mr. McInerney. Mr. Paulovecchio. Freeholders. I have a mover and a second
I'll move it.
to close public comment.
To close public comment.
And do I have the same mover and a second
Yes.
to approve the ordinance?
Mr. Vice President, may I confirm that Freeholder Sebo moved and Freeholder Graham second?
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent. So moved.
Let's move to resolutions. Resolution number 1, Madam Clerk. You can read it into the record at any time. Mr. Jackson, please explain.
Good evening, Mr. President. Ms. Massey is here to address this item.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Massey. I'm the unit coordinator with the Early Intervention Program, and we are here respectfully asking to have our grant inserted again this year. The Early Intervention Program provides services for children between 0 and 3. We provide and implement the Individual Friendly Service Plan, which will allow for these children to have in-home therapy services, which will consist of either developmental intervention, speech therapy, physical therapy, or a special education provider to come in and to assist the families.
Mr. Paulovecchio. Mr. McInerney. Freeholder. Need a motion and a second.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Freeholder Mercado. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham. Yes. Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Seymour. Yes. Freeholder President Gill, absent. So moved.
Madam Clerk, let's move to resolution number 2. We'll read it into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, please explain.
Mr. Vice President, Director Keisha Burnett is here to address this item.
Good evening, Freeholders. I am Keisha P. Burnett, the acting division head for the Division of Family Assistance and Benefit. Hudson Community Enterprises has been providing security services at 18 Rector Street for the past 3 years. And they have 30 officers on payroll. 26 are Essex County residents. The hourly rate for an unarmed guard is $16.13, and for an armed guard is $31.73. It is a 10.6% increase over the current contract due to the minimum wage. If you have any additional questions, the director, Mr. Demansky, is here.
Yeah, can we have him come up and introduce himself? Freeholders, any questions? Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You answered one of my questions. I wondered how many Essex County residents were employed by your agency. From reading the resolution, I get the impression that you provide services to disabled persons. Are these people disabled who are working for us?
Not per se. Here, what we are an agency, and we work with people with disabilities. We have many different offshoots. We run a shelter workshop in New Jersey City. We do a lot of business with the state of New Jersey through Access New Jersey, CNA, which is the central nonprofit organization. They have, there's 26 agencies like us in the state of New Jersey. ARC of Mercer, ARC of Essex, ARC of Union is all part of that organization. What we do with our building management services, many cases we try to maintain 75% of our staff with people with disabilities, which can be more things, just not all physical disabilities. If you have high blood pressure, things like that. It's anything disadvantaged, anything what makes you harder to employ when you're outside the workforce. What we do with our security division, our building management division is also, it supports our main mission, which is in Jersey City, where we run shelter workshops. We also work with Jersey City Public Schools. We run classes and occupational training for transitional students with disabilities or learning disabilities, and we get them into the workforce.
So the persons that are providing the security services aren't, in a sense, physical.
No, they're not
have physical disabilities. They may suffer from some of the other things that you just described.
Yes, they could have learning disabilities. They could be high blood pressure.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. So those services that you provide and the training that you do in Hudson County, you're not doing any of those things in Essex?
Well, because we are, that function is operating out of Hudson County. We maintain our building management services and our security services out of Orange at 1 Lincoln Avenue, Orange 179 Lincoln Avenue. And we also have, which I'm not part of, but we also have a scanning program that works out of North. That we also funnel people from our program into those jobs.
Thank you. Mr. Paulovecki. No questions. Mr. McInerney.
Mr. Vice President.
Oh, I'm sorry. Freeholder Cooper.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Actually, my question is for the administration. Administrator Jackson, just out of curiosity, are there any Essex County-based organizations, nonprofits that can provide this service?
I'm not sure, Freeholder, but I will look into it and get back to you.
All right, thank you.
We are the only one in Access New Jersey State.
Access New Jersey.
Access New Jersey CNA, it's a statewide program for the state.
Okay, thank you.
Freeholders, don't have a move Motion and a second.
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper, second by Freeholder Graham. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo. Yes. Freeholder President Gill, absent. So voted.
Good luck. Let's go to resolutions 3 and 4. Madam Clerk, read them into the record at a later date. Mr. Jackson, please explain.
Mr. Vice President, Director Ortiz is here for items 3 and 4.
Good evening, Freeholders. Mr. Vice President, through you, I'm here to advocate for the passage of the requests for the financial literacy programs for our inmates, detainees, state and federal inmates that we have under our care and custody. And this particular curriculum provides them information such as opening a savings account, financial literacy, CDs, and what have you, so that when they re-enter society, they can understand what things are necessary for them to be successful.
Mr. Paulovecchio, any questions, comments?
No, I don't.
Mr. McInerney? Freeholders. Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. One quick question. Is this a requirement for us to provide this service?
No, we do that because we think it's necessary. It's not required by any state law or any mandate. We just do that because I think it's necessary. We think it's necessary from the county perspective and also from my administration.
And this class is eligible to all detainees?
Inmates, detainees, federal inmates, everybody that we have under our care and custody. Yes.
Have you ever gotten any feedback from, just curious, any inmates who may have commented if the class was helpful or not?
We have some anecdotal. We just started this about a year ago. We have Ms. Maritza Brown, who is helpful, and she comes in the stretch, so it's still early in infancy, but we want to continue it. But we do want to know the efficacy of it, the success rate of it, so we're working on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was indicated to us at the leadership meeting that this outfit is woman-owned. That's correct?
One more time, I'm sorry.
It's owned by a woman. It's woman-owned.
That is correct. I'm sure. That is correct.
Yes.
It's a woman-owned business, that's
Thank
correct.
you.
From West Orange, by the way.
Mr. Jackson is taking number 4 as well. Director read this before.
I'm here also to advocate for the passage of this request so that we can outfit certain recently acquired vehicles with security sirens, lights, security items that we need in order to transport those under our care and custody safely to different hospitals and wherever we have to go. So it's necessary for us to get there safely.
Mr. Paulovecchio, any questions?
Quick question. Director Ortiz, is this basically like a police package up being?
Correct. Correct.
McInerney? Freeholders? No questions. Do I have a motion and a
So
second?
moved.
This is 3 and 4. Freeholder Mercado?
Yes.
And Freeholder Graham. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent. So moved.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Madam Clerk, let's move to resolutions 5 through 7, which are from the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. Please read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson, please explain.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Bernier and Ms. Casella are here to address that from Parks. They'll be handling item 5, and I'll be doing number 6 and 7.
Good evening. Tara Casella, Essex County Parks. Daniel Bernier, our contractor and past years for the Essex County Deer Management Program. I'll default to Dan to explain the program for us, and I'll take questions if you have any.
Good evening, Mr. Vice President, members of the board. I believe you have received my report on the 2019 Deer Management Program,
I know it is very voluminous and factual and scientific. I'm going to summarize it very quickly for you. In 6 afternoons earlier this year, 14 hunters removed 101 deer from South Mountain Reservation, the largest harvest in that park since 2008. In another 6 afternoons, those same hunters removed 99 deer from the Hilltop Reservation, which was the largest harvest since 2012. It was a very successful season, due primarily in part to better weather than we've experienced the last couple of winters, and also I think primarily due to a change that we effected in the schedule of the program, whereas we used to do 2 days of hunting each week first in South Mountain Reservation and later in Hilltop Reservation. This year we switched to doing 1 day each week in South Mountain on Tuesdays, and then on Thursdays going to Hilltop, so that there was a greater time interval in between the hunting, which I believe resulted in a greater harvest. The proposal for this coming year, which is outlined in the permit application that you are being asked to consider it for approval tonight, proposes exactly the same schedule as last year, the same format. We saw an estimated 38% decrease in the population density at South Mountain this year as a result of the 2019 program, and a 43% decrease in the population density at Hilltop. It's hoped that if we can have a similar program in 2020, that we'll continue to drive that population down closer to the density that is necessary to allow forest regeneration to occur, to bring the health of our forests back to where it should be, as well as to improve the safety of our motorists, to reduce deer-car collisions, and to improve the quality of life of people who live around the parks, who are suffering from the onslaught of deer eating up their shrubbery and messing up their lawns and posing them with the threat of Lyme disease. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Freeholder Seabolt.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for all the great work that you do. And I read through this as much as I could read every single thing. And I do have one question, which maybe is irrelevant, but how come Eagle Rock Reservation isn't mentioned at all?
Okay.
And you're not going there.
We,
Just Hilltop and South Mountain.
For those who are newer to the board, we did hunt at Eagle Rock Reservation earlier in this program, and we have continued to do spotlight counts of Eagle Rock each year following the hunt in South Mountain and Hilltop. We do a spotlight count of all 3 parks. So we have been monitoring the level of the population density there. The population has been climbing each year, but in very small increments. The number of deer that seem to be present in Eagle Rock that we could remove don't seem to be economically feasible in terms of the cost of mounting a program there. I have, however, suggested to the county executive that if we are successful in 2020 at South Mountain at driving that population down to the same degree that we did this year, that we may be in a position where the following year we could reduce the number of days of hunting at South Mountain. Hilltop is probably going to still be the same number because the population density of Hilltop is enormous. But that in that following year, we may be better poised to go back to Eagle Rock for 2 or 3 afternoons to get out some population of deer, and then perhaps.
Because I was just wondering, because South Mountain, we have the deer every year that you have to take care of, but we don't have it at Eagle Rock.
Right. I'm surprised myself every year when we do the spotlight count, but the numbers of deer we see at Eagle Rock, this year we saw 5 deer in our spotlight count. It's just amazing that there aren't more deer in there.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Yeah, I've looked at the topography and the vegetation. I would expect more, but the density just isn't that high yet.
Well, I hope South Mountain gets to that point, and also Hilltop. That would be
Yeah,
wonderful.
we're getting closer.
Good, thank you. Thanks for the great job you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, running down to Branchbrook.
That's what I was just going to say. We've
That's
seen
why
it.
I'm not there. Yeah, Branchbrook.
And we work.
Yeah. Smack. No question. I like it.
go to number 6, thank you.
Mr. President, Julius Coltree, Deputy County Administrator. This is the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. It's a 24-month extension to the Shorter Group and Donna Frio, both are WBEs. Shorter Group, the extension is for $384,000, not to exceed, and then Donna Frio is at $385,550. The two groups do services at various parks. Group 1, which is a Shorter, does Brookdale, Glenfield, Freesbury, Anderson, and Yannicor, and Group 2 for Donna Frio does Monte Urban, Veterans, Weequahic, and Wassesca. They do no outside contracting. This is all self within their company. Number 7 is a resolution for agreement between, we received 5 bids from 15 potential bidders. We have 4 vendors: Wilfred McDonald of Pine Brook, Storage Tractor of Branchburg, Cherry Valley Tractor, West Marlton, and Power Place East White House Station. They're going to supply various parts and equipment for mowers and other lawn equipment, not to exceed $200,000. This is open-ended and it's pay as you go.
And these are extensions?
Only number 6, Mr. President.
This is an extension.
Correct.
Yeah, you might as well come on up. We're going to give you a break. We thought that.
Good evening. Clarence Nathaniel Skynes III, Project Manager for the Shorter Group, Shorter Property Services. We've had the opportunity to provide services to the county for almost 2 decades, from snow removal, landscaping, property management, construction at Turtleback Zoo, at different facilities. And for this project in particular, this is a contract renewal. We've already been performing said work at these locations and look forward to continuing as such. Thank you.
Ms. McInerney? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Diane Janaffer and Son. We also provide all the landscaping at the various parks that are under our contract, and we're very happy that it's being extended for another 2 years.
So McInerney, any questions?
Yes. I just want to point out that these public works contracts 7, 8, 9, and 10 are the lowest responsible bidders. 11 and 12 are from Middlesex Regional Cooperative. 13 is the lowest responsible bid, and 14 is an existing contract with an option.
Row 5 through 7. Yes, sir. Mr. Paul, no questions. Freeholder.
I have a question.
Freeholder McDonald.
For get a little ahead of ourselves. We want to get there too. This is for the other 2 vendors. Who's responsible for the maintenance and landscaping of Branchbrook Park? Neither one? Branchbrook. Is that not on this contract?
Through you, Mr. President, neither one of these vendors provide services that we've had at Branchbrook Park.
Yeah, I'll reserve my
For the
call.
extension.
Freeholders.
Can I move it?
Can I remove her in a second? This is 5 through 7.
I'm moving 5 through 7.
Second. Oh, yeah, we just said. So moved by Freeholder Sebo, second by Cooper.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, roll call. 5 through 7.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent Freeholder Brown.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Hill. Absent, so moved.
All right. So let's take resolutions 8 through 14. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Vice President, County Engineer Varghese is here to address each of these items.
Good evening, Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. Resolution number 8, it's a federal project. This is to rehabilitate 9 traffic lights. It's in East Orange, Orange, and Newark. I will list the intersections. Park Avenue and Cleveland in Orange, that's a new traffic light. They've been asking for a new traffic light at that intersection for a long time. Second one is Park Avenue and Bay Street, which is an existing traffic light. We are rehabilitating the whole intersection with new equipment, new traffic lights. Park Avenue and Linden, East Orange. Park Avenue and Lincoln in East Orange. Park Avenue and 19th in East Orange. Park Avenue and Parker in Newark. Park Avenue and Bush Street in Newark. Park Avenue and Gardside in Newark. Park Avenue and Mount Prospect in Newark. That's a new traffic intersection. This is 100% grant from NJTPA. We have 1 out for bids. We have 4 bids, and Essential, they've been one of the biggest traffic rehabilitation contractors in the state. I have someone from Essential, they are a union shop. They have one notice on board, but a representative from Essential here. If you have any questions?
Good evening. My name is Rich McIntyre. I'm the project manager at Sunset Brothers. We're at Edison, New Jersey. This actually project is going to be our 5th project with the county, doing basically the same type of work, just different roadway and different intersections.
Mr. McInerney? Follow that connection. Freeholder. You say the union outfit?
Yeah, full union. Operating engineers, laborers union 472, 172, and carpenters.
You can move it later, not just yet.
I know.
Freeholder Cooper.
How many county residents do you have? County residents?
I believe right now we have 6, but that can change because we do hire from our union halls. It's whatever the union halls actually send us. I can't, especially operating engineers, we can't request workers. They send us what they have. So
I didn't know that 472 had 1,500 members who live in it.
So Sandy, this is to actually, is this for engineering work or to just change the lights in
This
other
is
locations?
Sanjeev Varghese, County Engineer. This is to actually replace the intersection, the whole light itself. We'll take the old one out and plant new traffic intersection will be built with new bells and whistles. The technology is latest with cameras and all these things.
No questions? All right.
Can I move it now?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're taking 8 through 14.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
you can
Oh, I'll relax.
go to now.
Resolution number 9 is it's a not to exceed contract for purchasing building materials. This is for our in-house use by our carpenters. 4 vendors in the list. This is when we ask needed basis. It's for a total of $200,000. We don't spend $200,000, probably we'll be spending less than $100,000 on this. There are 4 vendors in the list. One is accredited log supply in Patterson. Active Cicadas. Second one is Continental Hardware in New York. Anderson associate member in Madrid. Extec building materials in New York.
Mr. McInerney. Freeholders. Let's go to 10.
Resolution number 10 is for the purchase of batteries. Again, this is an as-needed contract, not to exceed $30,000. We usually spend around $15,000 to $20,000 a year.
What was that?
Yes.
Oh, sure. Mr. McInerney. All right, freeholders. Number 11.
Resolution number 11 is to purchase a new excavator for the public works for in-house use. This is purchased from a Middlesex Regional Cooperative Purchasing Program. This is, even though this is a cooperative purchasing program, we usually come before the board if it's more than $100,000. Resolution number 12 is for the same as resolution 11. This is for a loader, which is again, we are buying it through the Middlesex Regional Cooperative Purchasing Program. This we will use for the snow and any storms. We have two loaders. Right now, one is 14 years old, the other one is 8 years old. We ran the loader because it started breaking down quite often. Resolution number 13. This is a contract which we had before a couple of days ago, before the board recorded because of the bid challenge. That bid challenge was resolved. This is guardian fence. This is to prepare the new fences for bridges, facilities. I have Mr. Andrew from guardian fence here. If you have any questions.
Yeah, that'll have to come up.
Good evening, Ange Macarelli, Project Manager, Guardian Fence Company, North.
Garden Fence Company where?
North.
McInerney. All right, freeholders. Do you have any Essex County residents in your report?
The third, 11, no, fluctuating.
Thank you. Let's go to 14.
Resolution 14 is a contract with Legendary. This is to pick up leaf and compost, that composting facility we have at South London. This is an expansion of the existing contract we have for 2 years. They've been doing it for several years, for the last at least 8 to 10 years. We are happy with their performance. This is the extension of the current one.
So it's a 2-year extension?
Yes.
And then after the 2 years expire, we have to go back out to bid.
We'll go back out for another bid.
Mr. McInerney.
No question.
Paul, thank you. Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you. For number 13, the gates fence, did you have an opportunity to survey Orange Park? Because it was some article areas of fencing that was missing. And a couple weeks back, I asked if you guys could survey the park to determine how we can repair. Some of the fence has been broken, damaged from trees falling down, and some other things.
Again, Orange Park, the Parks Department takes care of it, but Guardian Fence is the same company who does that for work for them. I will reach out to Dan Silvan, the director, and I follow up on that.
All right, thank you.
I have another.
Freeholder McCollum.
Yes, just a question regarding the tennis courts at Branchbrook Park. I know that the resurfacing was just done in that park, but that fence is still in very bad condition. Is that fence being considered at all in the plans?
There is no, we have discussion for that fence, it should be coming up soon with the other project. But with that project, there is no fence. We have to just put a fence for the pickle court to separate the two courts.
Okay, thank you.
The a motion and a second to take 8 through 14.
I'll move it now.
Moved by Freeholder Seagull, second by Cooper.
Can you mark this for number 8, President Hartman?
Okay. Cooper, 8, present now.
Number 8, Freeholder Cooper. Yeah, President.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent, so moved.
15. Reading to the record of the day. Mr. Jackson.
Yes, Mr. Vice President. We would like to name ceremoniously Franklin Avenue, Nutley, and Belleville as Buddy Fortunato Boulevard in honor of Buddy Fortunato, Grand Marshal of the 2019 Nutley Belleville Columbus Day Parade. As many of you know, Mr. Fortunato is an Essex County resident and dedicated member of the Italian-American community. He served in the State Assembly in 1977 and was chairman of both the Transportation and Communications Committees. He was also chairman of the Independent Authority Commission, which oversaw Atlantic City casinos. In 1999, he purchased the Italian Tribune and assumed the role of publisher for the last 20 years. He's received many awards and accolades, and it's a fitting honor for Mr. Fortunato.
McInerney. Call back here. No questions. Freeholder. The move in a second.
I'll move this.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Seagull, second by Freeholder Mercado. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent, so moved.
Let's move to Resolution 16. Madam Clerk will read it into the record at a later time. Mr. McInerney, please explain the resolution.
Vice President, members of the board, the 2018 county audit is before you for your approval. The audit is prepared by Senator Klein Company. In doing so, the audit tests the internal controls and test of compliance with various state statutes and auditing procedures. There is no exceptions to the opinion except for the exception that is found in every New Jersey municipal and county audit report, and that is that we do not follow general accepted accounting principles. The state of New Jersey has its own accounting methodology, which is used universally throughout the state. That is the only exception that we'll see in this report. In addition, what we look for in the back is various comments to exceptions to different controls and different procedures and processes. There are nothing that I would consider material in nature that would affect the internal controls or the lack of reliance on the financial records of the county. At the end of the year, the county continues to maintain a strong cash fund balance, not only in its current fund, but in its capital fund as well. The county continues to move towards funding capital improvements through its operating budget. It did so this year in 2019 by anticipating almost $45 million worth of fund balance in the 19 budget in order to fund things that are normally paid through a bond issue. Now we're doing it currently out of our operating account. So again, the audit is in good form. approve this order tonight, and any other questions that you may have. I'm willing to.
Mr. Parliament,
No questions.
Freeholder. Need a mover and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Graham. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham. Yes. Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel, absent. Freeholder President Gill, absent. So moved.
So we're gonna skip 17 from now, and we'll come back to that. We're gonna go to 18. Mr. Qualivecchio, please explain the resolution.
Yes, Mr. President. As a continuing part of the budget process, state law requires governing body certification of the county's compliance with the United States EEOC's enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrest and conviction records and employment decisions. So basically, this is a resolution wherein the freeholders certify that the county is following the federal guidelines as it pertains to hiring. I prepared a memo for you that outlines not only that EEOC guidance, that's a guidance, it's not law, it's best practices, more or less. And I outlined the county's employment practice. Briefly, I can say the county developed a standardized set of procedures for employment applications and background checks for its prospective employers, and that's in compliance with state and federal regulations, because what this guidance seeks to do is really make sure that there's not unfair practices when looking at somebody's prior history. So I did consult with county council on this. The practices have been in effect for the last couple of years. We went through this last year as well as part of the budget process. But this will keep us in compliance with the state budget requirements.
Freeholders, any questions?
Excuse me.
Freeholder Sebo.
I'd like to vote in the affirmative on 16. I was out of the room. Thank you.
Any questions on 18? I need a mover and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper, seconded by Freeholder Mercado. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Okay. Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill, absent. So moved.
So we moved 17 to last because it's in memoriam for the Honorable David Lyons and is sponsored by acclamation. At this time, if the freeholder would like to make any comments on passing council member from Irvington, David Lyons, right now would be a good time. If not, okay. Report of board committees. Oh. Move in a second for 17. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Ricardo.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Gill, absent. So moved.
Report of board committees. Any legislative reports? Written communication. Unfinished business. New business. Public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Come to the mic. The name on the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Stacy Gregg, Rockaway. I'm back to ask you in writing for the following I'd like to know in writing from each and every board member if they've ever voted for funds on a bill that they have not read the entire packet. I would like to know from every single board member the dates, each and every date that you have visited both of the detention centers that are in your jurisdiction of Essex County. What were the dates that you went, and were those visits done, announced or unannounced? When did you go? How many times did you go? What were the dates? I'd like that in writing in the letter. That's my second question. 4, do you support the president's tweets regarding the congresswomen that are Americans, that they should go back to their countries? It goes along with your philosophy on what you are doing with his immigration cruel policy. So if you feel that those Americans who are not white Americans, that he felt fit to tell the 4 of them that they should go back to their countries. I'd like to know each and every single freeholder's opinion on what they felt. I just went to a meeting in Sussex County where we had a school board member where their freeholders refused so far to take the person off of a board. They assigned him to Sussex County College, and he put out on his tweets, he put out things like whores of Babylon about the 4 women. So I'd like to know each and every freeholder's opinion on the president's stance on that. You claim you're all Democrats, but it seems like your policies seem to be right up his alley, doing his bidding in the White House. I would like a statement from each and every freeholder. I'd like to know their answer in my letter of this question. Do you have a statement of morals, or how do you feel regarding resigning from the board if the rest of the board will not resign and take back that ICE contract and set those people free? You're not doing oversight. You do not have enough judges there. You don't see it as a high priority. My next question is, have you visited the places that are having the problems in Essex County with the water problems? I'd like to know when you visited those towns and what you're doing individually if it's your town that you cover as a freeholder, and what you're doing about the contaminate. There's a person up here with the contamination. And my last question I'd like an answer back is, in every town in Essex County, do the police officers have body cams? We had a problem in a different county where we had Jameek Lowry, where he was beaten, and those police still do not have body cams. I want to know what's going on in Essex. That woman had a problem where she was robbed, and she said she gave testimony, and it did not get written up. I would like to know if the freeholders are going to, time's up, give a grant for body cams to all the towns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. Adam Kramer, I'm the Republican nominee for Freeholder. I started my career as a civics teacher for 5 years, teaching social studies at the New York Boys Course School. So I learned a lot about civic discourse. But what we've seen today is not what I would call a great example of civic discourse. Citizenship on the part of the public doesn't just mean exercising your right. It means going the next step in exercising it correctly, appropriately, and in the right way. Absolutely, people have the right to dissent. Absolutely, people have the right to come to this microphone and say their mind. But I think people also have to say things in a respectful, polite way. To impugn the freeholders as immoral people is out of bounds. I may have my disagreements on policy, we may have our disagreements on policy, but impugning people as bad and immoral is just not the right way to do things. We run on a rule of law, not the rule of mob. The other thing I'd like to say is, I'm Jewish and I had ancestors die in the Holocaust. And I know object, feel free to question policy, but please do so respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Freeholder comments? None? Need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Cooper, second by Graham.